Article from Carol Rosenberg of the New York Times regarding Ali Hamza al-Bahul, who's a part of the Al-Qaeda media committee and who has been appealing his case for the last couple of years, in which his latest appeal has been rejected. He's one of the few that was legitimately found guilty for crimes of the government, inciting terrorism, and taking part in terrorism. So not everybody at Guantanamo is actually innocent. So let's go to the article itself. As you can see here, court rejects new sentencing for al-Qaeda recruiter Ali Hamza al-Bahul, the only convict serving a life sentence at Guantanamo Bay. Lawyers have appealed his case 6 times. We'll go and look at the older articles. A federal appeals court on Tuesday rejected a bid by a Yemeni prisoner at Guantanamo Bay to have a new military jury consider his life sentence for conspiring to commit war crimes as a propaganda chief for al-Qaeda and an aide to Osama bin Laden. Now, we need to go back in time. Here's an article dated 2008. Guantanamo jury jails bin Laden media chief for life. November 4, 2008. Osama bin Laden's media secretary has been sentenced to life in prison for terrorism offenses in the second war crimes trial at the U.S. detention center of Guantanamo Bay. Ali Hamza al-Bahul from Yemen, who made propaganda videos for bin Laden before being captured in December of 2001, was found guilty by a jury of 9 military officers who deliberated just under an hour. He was convicted of 35 counts of conspiracy, solicitation to commit murder, and providing material support for terrorism. Al-Bahul told jurors he proudly volunteered to be a plane hijacker on September 11, 2001 and called America the head of the infidels. He acknowledged joining al-Qaeda terrorist networks, accused the U.S. of oppressing Muslims for 50 years, and said, "We will fight any government that governs America." He told jurors before being sentenced that he volunteered to be the 20th hijacker in the September 11 terrorist attacks on the U.S. Bin Laden told him his role was to head al-Qaeda propaganda machine. "I know of 3 20th hijackers, Muhammad al-Qahtani from Florida, Zacharias Moussaoui, and of course, Ali Hamza al-Bahul. We are the only ones on earth who stand against you," al-Bahul said. "You have started the war against us." His lawyer, Air Force Major David Frank, said he was not surprised by the life sentence considering the defendant's comments. "I think the 20th hijacker comment pretty much sealed the deal," Frank said, "but he might have gotten life anyway." Al-Bahul was previously called the military tribunal a legal farce and refused to mount a defense by boycotting the trial silently at the defense table. At al-Bahul's request, his military lawyer did not speak either, declining even to answer questions from the judge. The lead prosecutor, Army Major Daniel Cowhig, said al-Bahul had shown no remorse or regret. "When will it be safe for this man to leave confinement? Never," Cowhig said. Al-Bahul was not accused of participating in the September 11 attacks, but prosecutors and witnesses said he was so close to bin Laden that he hooked up a satellite receiver for the pair to hear live radio coverage of the attacks from their base in Afghanistan's Khost province. Prosecutors said he acknowledged to interrogators that he was al-Qaeda's media chief, made propaganda videos that inspired terrorists to attack the U.S., and arranged for the lead September 11 hijacker, Mohammed Atta, to swear a loyalty oath to the al-Qaeda chief. Witnesses at his sentencing included the father of a sailor killed in the 2000 attack on the USS Skull, which featured in a video the military says al-Bahul produced to train and inspire al-Qaeda terrorists in Afghanistan. Most likely he worked with Suleiman al-Bugait, who's also part of the media committee. I think he's the head of the media committee of al-Qaeda. The media committee of al-Qaeda, media arm, is As-Sahab Media. I have a lot of videos from As-Sahab Media. It's uploaded on my hard drive, and I'm trying to upload them on YouTube, but it's hard because they say I'm promoting terrorism. So go to my Odyssey account, and you'll see a couple of training videos, especially from Afghanistan. And there's one infamous video I have uploaded there with Ramzi bin al-Shibh meeting with bin Laden at Al-Farouk training camp in August of 2001. It's pervasive, said Schweinhaus of Rockport, Texas. Gary Schweinhaus Sr. said son Gary was killed in the attack, said he was devastated. Al-Bahul's video has been widely available on the internet. "That's what's so bad. That's what's so wrong," he said. Al-Bahul was caught in Guantanamo, who was brought to Guantanamo in 2002, is the second prisoner to go through a war crimes trial under the special military commission system. The former bin Laden driver, Salim Hamdan, was convicted in August and sentenced to 5.5 years in prison. He is still at Guantanamo, will have completed his sentence by January 2009, with credit for being time served. And that's the article there. And let's go back to New York Times article. Earlier appeals struck down 2 of the 3 crimes for which Ali Hamza al-Bahu was convicted in 2008. His lawyer, Michael Paredes, had argued that a new sentencing jury should be assembled at the BR to hear evidence and arguments on whether his remaining conspiracy conviction deserved a lesser sentence. Mr. Paredes also sought reconsideration of the sentence because a year after Mr. Bahu's trial, Guantanamo's military commission system was overhauled to explicitly prohibit the use of evidence obtained by the use of torture or by cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment. The 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit said that the sentence should stand and that the prisoner's lawyers brought up the question of torture too late in the appellate process. Here's a perfect example of a guy who didn't need to be tortured. He has already admitted his crimes even before he was even captured. He's produced videos for Al-Qaeda. He's admitted that he would act on terrorism before he was captured. And here's a guy who even admits in his own sentencing that he would commit acts of terror even if he's released. But he was tortured anyway. And, it makes you wonder why the CIA and the State Department authorized the CIA to conduct these acts of torture and inhumane treatment of these prisoners. Was it to get information? Well, the Senate Select Committee doesn't think so. 2011, they wrote their report. Nothing that was gleaned from any of these people, especially people like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Abu Zubaydah, Ramzi bin al-Shib, or Ammar al-Baluchi, and other scores of other people have produced any actionable intelligence. That's from their report. The CIA continues to deny it, even to this day. That's the reason why you'll never see any of them even agree to an interview. So let's continue. Mr. Bahu was tried in October, November 2008, but did not allow his lawyer to offer a defense or question witnesses. He rejected the authority of the military commission system, which was established by President George W. Bush. At times, he protested waving a sign in Arabic that said boycott. During sentencing, he waved a paper airplane when a prosecutor mentioned the attacks on September 11, 2001. Wow. At the mention of al-Qaeda's suicide bombing of the U.S.'s Cole off Yemen on October 12, 2000, he waved a paper boat he made while sitting in court. Either this guy just didn't give a shit, or he really is nuts. Evidence at the trial showed Mr. Bahu admitted that he made an al-Qaeda recruiting video about the bombing of the Cole, helped 2 of the September 11 hijackers prepare martyrdom wills for propaganda purposes, and I have about 11 of those martyrdom wills that was released by Assahab Media. They're on my Odyssey account. And while on the move in Afghanistan, tried to operate a satellite receiver so bin Laden could monitor broadcasts about the September 11 attacks. Mr. Bahu's legal team is likely to seek full appellate court review before deciding whether to appeal to the Supreme Court. This is Mr. Bahu's 6th case before the Civilian Appeals Court, including one in 2014 that overturned 2 other convictions on charges of providing material support for terrorism and solicitation of others to commit war crimes. Mr. Bahu is the only prisoner still at Guantánamo Bay because Hamdan's released, who was brought before a tribunal before the Bush administration, and the only one of 30 prisoners held there serving a life sentence. Well, wait a minute. Abu Zubaydah is serving a life sentence because even though he didn't go to trial, and he probably never will, he's considered a forever detainee by the military courts, military commission. Too dangerous to release, even though they know that he's not part of Al-Qaeda or that he committed any operations for them. Excuse me. A United Nations human rights investigator who visited the prison this year mentioned Mr. Bahu in a report that condemned conditions of the detention operation. As the only convict at the prison, he is kept in isolation, raising serious concerns of solitary confinement in contravention of international law, according to a report by Fayano Numila Ni Alouin, who is serving as the UN Special Rapporteur on counterterrorism and human rights. Ms. Ni Alouin said a prison policy letting him socialize with other detainees 4 hours a day has been implemented inconsistently and arbitrarily. That's the end of the article. It's funny because during the appeals, Carol Rosenberg, who is, when she reported out of the Miami Herald, reported that al-Bahu's military defense attorneys filed a 50-page appeal of his sentence on grounds of free speech. And the appeal was the second file with the Military Court of Commission's review, and al-Bahu had boycotted even his own military commission trial, so no defense was mounted. He also refused to participate even in his own appeal. So it didn't, it doesn't make sense for him to keep appealing if he's not going to basically cooperate with his own appeals. And this is the 6th time now. But I think that's just about it for this article by Carol Rosenberg. Please subscribe to her at her Twitter account. She is literally the best thing out of Guantanamo Bay. And that's really saying something, because there's a lot of horrible things about Guantanamo and why it needs to be closed down permanently. And if you haven't seen my interview of Mansour Adifi or Mohammed al-Slahi, both were former prisoners at Guantanamo Bay, please go to the Darkened Hour channel, which I'll provide at the bottom of the description, and listen to their own harrowing testimonies about what they suffered while being there. All right. And as usual, if there's more reports coming out, you'll be the first to know. And also, as always, I'll report the news unbiased and unprejudiced. And that's the only way to be. Have a good weekend, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. See you in the next video.